The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's forming a fun.
Good evening and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Lowe's Moore, and I'm excited to be back with you guys in another week, right? Another week. Man, it's been an awesome week. Hey, it's been, let me tell you something, it's been cold. I mean, it's been a long time since it's been this cold, this consistent, right? But you know what? I always say, man, if you woke up this morning, right, you don't mind feeling the cold, you don't mind feeling the hot, you don't mind anything, right, because you woke up this morning. And I'm thankful to God, man, that I woke up this morning and I was excited. Here's the funny part, that if some of you seen the little, I did a little overview for the show, a little promo for the show this morning as I was walking. And I didn't get a chance to walk yesterday. I don't even know if I walked the day before that. But I said, man, I got to get out and do something. Before I go to church, I'm going to get out there. I'm start walking. And I did I looked at my phone and I said, the weather said 27 degrees, right? So I put on my 30 degrees underneath my sweat suit, right? Put it underneath. And put my sweat jacket on and put my rain jacket on and hopped out there. And I had a route in mind, right, which would probably take me about an hour to 45 minutes, to get through it. But as I was walking, right, man, Mr. Wind jumped out there, and I was like, man, it's cold. I'm going to have to detour here a little bit. And I did. I detoured a few times and I shortened the walk. But while I was doing the walk, I was saying to myself, that, man, I was thinking about, like, when I was doing my preview on promo for the show, I was thinking about, like, last week we were talking about the new year. So let me say that up front. Happy New Year, right? And, to everybody out there, everybody that made it over. And the crazy thing, man, you got to think of it, it's a new year, but it's another day, right? It's a new year, but it's another day. And, I had to think of it like that because, everybody was so excited about, we just crossed over into a new year, right? And I think the expectation in the new year is that there's going to be it was celebration. It was exciting, and that now we're starting off a new year, and we're gonna have more good than we have bad. But I mean, we woke up New Year's morning, and the tragedy in New Orleans, something happened over in Las Vegas, some shootings happened here in Queens, New York, but I'm sure that there were some amazing things that happened in the new year, but they got overlooked by the negative stuff that happened on New Year's Day. And I'm sure there were some wonderful things that happened the night of going in the transition from 24 to 25, and all that day in New Year's, there were some wonderful things. I'm sure there were some parades. People were still celebrating. And I mean, but the focus was on the tragedy because, man, here it is New Year's and we right back. It's a new year, but it's just another day. It's another day that we have to deal with. Some of the things I was talking about in the new year, pre-New Year show, right? We were talking about flow, finding the flow, right? And so as we go into this new year, we're just trying to find the flow, right? And we don't want things to be too crazy, too up here, right? And too high, right? And we don't want things to be too low. We just want to find the balance, because balance is the key to life, right? And so I'm thankful for a new year, thankful that God had blessed me and my family, and to come over into another year, a brand new year, an exciting year. I'm looking forward to 2025, man, and everybody out there should too. And so we mentioned during the course of our New Year's show, we were talking about, like, going into a new year. The focus is on life, right? We're excited about life. We want to live life. The joy of the Lord is my strength, right? We want to live a life of joy, right? A life of high frequency, celebration, excitement, right? That's the kind of life we want. We want to live as we go into 2025. We want, if we find something that's dead, we need to raise it up, bring life to it, right? If we see somebody hurting, man, we need to bring life to those individuals, right? And so that's why I'm excited about 2025, moving forward. And so let me get rolling here. I want to start out with I say books. As we go into 2025, we got some books up there. The question is whether I can see those books. I made them kind of small there. So, so just give me a second here, as I look at those books, and, so I can talk about them. I got to talk about them for a second, right? Yeah, there we go. So, Dr. Obadiah, right? Huh?
I love him.
Yeah, if we're talking about life, man, we got to talk about people who develops life, right? And who's talking about life. And he has a book called The Journey of the Divine Manifestation. Dr. Obadiah, lives life, right? When you talk about manifesting heaven on earth, man, he is one that manifests heaven on earth, right? And it is a great read. Now, this is deep. You're dealing with Dr. Obadiah, you're dealing with something that's deep. This is not surface faith. This is deep faith, right? Maybe that's your goal, is to get closer to God, right? To get more intimate with God, because the more intimate you get with him, the deeper he gets with you, right? And so Dr. Obadiah says the journal of divine manifestation by, of course, Dr. Obadiah. And if you get a chance to see some videos on him, it's going to be awesome, right? And then Ian Clayton has a book, right? Volume 1. It says Realms of the Kingdom by Ian Clayton. I hope you guys writing it down. I can give you guys a lot of books over a whole year, right? But I'm starting out this year. I'm giving you 5 books, right? And then Justin Paul Abraham has a book out called Beyond Human, right? And fully identified with new creation, right? And you ought to check that out as well. I've read that one several times. And then you got Nancy Cohen, right? Limitless.
Love all of them.
Living the life of an overcomer. Nancy Cohen, right? A limitless life, right? I'm getting you going in 2025. And then Annette Capps, Quantum Faith. Listen to this. Is over 250,000. This is just on this book. Over 250,000 sold, right? So there's 5 books that you guys ought to check out in 2025. If you want to if you want, if you want to get up, kickstart yourself in a higher frequency, a higher vibration of life, right? If you want to kick yourself off in 2025 in life, Jesus said, I came that you might have life,
Well,
right? And that you might have it more abundantly, right? He said, the enemy comes to kill and steal and destroy, but I came
that you might have.
that you might have life and have it more abundantly. We want to know what that life is, and we want to know what the abundant life is. We want to know what the ascended life is, right? And we want extended life. I like that, right? So check those 5 books out, right? And I love to see if any one of you pick up any one of those books and start to read it, and then come on the podcast and acknowledge that you read them and you read at least one of them, or you started to read one of them, and then put some comments in the chat, and we'll have a conversation on those books, man. And I recommend any one. You can start out with any one of them. My favorite is Justin Paul Abraham Beyond Human, right? And then now the word of the week, right? My word of the week, ascended life, right? Ascended life, and it's 2 words. Life. I've been talking about life, but an ascended life. We want to live a life on a higher level, right? On a higher frequency, right? We want to, it says, the Bible says, when I say ascended life, right? We know it as in the church. We know it as a walk in the Spirit, right? The Bible says that we should walk in the Spirit daily. That's an ascended life. When you allow yourself to live in the Spirit, right? Not in our humanity, right? Not in our flesh, not in our past experiences, not in our intellect, but we are guided by our spirit, right? Bible says that we should walk in the Spirit daily, right? And that's what we're trying to achieve as we go into 2024 and 2025, right? We want an ascended life, right? We want to live in the Spirit, right? And we want the Spirit to be the guide for our humanity, for our intellect, for our physical bodies, right? And those are my 2 words for the day. Here's my Hill Harper Pierce Harper affirmation moment, and it says, "You're not too old to start over. You're too old to keep doing what isn't working."
I like that.
You like that? Yeah, you're not too old to change your mind. You're not too old to change your ways. You're not too old to change your direction, right? You're not too old to go to another level, right? And you're not too old, but you know what insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. Right? You've been doing the same thing. Now it's trying to do something. It's trying to do something different. And when you put yourself in a place where you're intimate with God, God wants to open up another world to you. I ain't gonna preach. I ain't gonna get on my soapbox, right? Wait,
Cause I ain't got no offering for you, bro. So,
right? Hey, you're not too old to start over, right? You're not too old to start something. Right? Don't sit back there and say, "Oh, I'm just so old. I can't start a business. I'm so old. I can't change my diet. I'm so old. I can't get up and move." I'm saying, look, change your thinking. Right? As a man or a woman thinks in his heart, so is he. If you think it's over, it's over. Right? But if you think it's time to get up, right? I'm telling you, it's get up. 2025, regardless of your age, get up. Take one step at a time. Get moving. All right.
I'm supposed to clap? Oh, was I gonna clap that?
You can clap.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Here's my music and movie for the week. Right. If you know, here's the Bethel music. I mean, if you want some good worship music, right? Bethel got a bunch of good worship songs, and occasionally I listen to them, man, because they come up with some very wonderful worship songs. And then if you're looking for movies, if anybody tell me your favorite, right? Send me in the chat. Send me one of your favorite faith-based movies.
Oh. War Room's gonna be for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
War Room's a good one.
Yeah, War Room is good.
Yeah. Hey, put it in the chat, man. Your favorite, one, two, or three of your favorite faith-based movies. And I'm telling you, there's about 20 of them coming out this year. In 2025, it's going to be 20 or 25 new faith-based movies, right? And we need to support them, right?
Yeah, I say War Room, like Facing the Giants. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They're written by the same person, right?
Yeah.
Facing the Giants.
One of my favorites, Do You Believe?
Do you believe?
Yeah, there's a lot of people going to church, but the question is, do you believe?
Is Facing the Giants the one with the football guys?
Yeah, that's the football.
And he's got the guy on his back, and he's like bringing him over. Oh man, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah. So let's move on. My person of the week, I was remembering, right? Dr. Frederick K.C. Price.
Ooh yeah.
Oh man, I used to watch him all the time, man. I mean, in his ministry, did great things. He had great word of faith, right? And yeah, man, you know, when you grow up around legends like that, man, you know, who deliver the word and help you grow spiritually, right? Sometimes you just got to you got to remember. You know, I wanted to remember him, man, because I was thinking about him. Took over a whole Pepperdine College. You know, made it his ministry. And then, what I got next?
What you got next? Let me see what you got next.
Yeah, I wanted to remember
Ricky
Henderson. And I don't know if you guys out there remember Ricky Henderson. We remember baseball players and basketball players and football players of the day. Sometimes we don't remember our heroes. Ricky passed away, man. I think a couple of weeks ago. Man, I used to love watching Ricky Henderson with the Oakland. Was the Oakland A's,
okay.
And then he came over to the Yankees. Nobody could steal bases like Ricky. I mean, you just knew every pitcher feared Ricky. Ricky would get like 3-4 feet off the base, man, and dare the pitcher to throw the ball that way because he would just steal for no reason, you know. So, man, God bless you, Ricky, man. You were amazing, man, amazing baseball player and a nice person too, as well, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he had the hugest thighs.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that guy was amazing, man. And Ken J, happy birthday. You know,
That's the nephew.
Yeah, that's my
He's
nephew.
the oldest.
The oldest nephew.
No, he's the oldest nephew, right?
Oldest nephew.
Because TT's the oldest niece.
Oldest niece, yeah. Oldest nephew. Happy birthday, Ken J.
And
Denzel turned 70, man.
Ooh.
A milestone. You know, I want to say happy birthday to D. Right? And, you know, he's still doing.
And he just got baptized and became a minister.
Yeah,
Come
baptized and became a minister. You know, I don't know if you guys know this story or not, man, but I actually seen several times. There's a letter when he was like 12 or 13 years old. His mother owned a beauty parlor in Mount Vernon, and he used to go in there and help her clean up and sweep and whatever she say do, he would do. And this lady came in to get her hair done. And she wrote him a note while she was sitting there, right? And she said, and he keeps it in his wallet. And if you asked him, you see him, he said, yeah, the lady wrote you a note. He probably would pull that little note out, man. It's almost faded, right? And it says, you shall preach to millions, right? And for years, he struggled with, should he give up acting and should he become a preacher? You know, I don't know if many of you know, his father was a preacher, right? And you know, and most pastors would say to him, man, you are preaching, right? You in this industry, right? You're in this industry that is so crazy, and they need people of faith to be in that industry, right? And I'm happy that, man, I don't know any one person who's read the Bible more than him. Right, every time I turn around, I say, man, I'm reading the Bible, the whole Bible again, right? And he takes that very seriously. So D, congratulations and happy birthday, man. Keep up it. He not slowing down. He's moving forward. right? He living life. All right, we got next.
In Tampa.
Yeah, now we got Ain't Too Proud, just an update. They're in Tampa, Florida, right now, heading from Tampa to Columbia, South Carolina, right? And man, Losey's, as you can see, he's met some friends there and some family there while he was in Tampa. Man, if you in the area where Losey is, man, he comes out after. If he knows that you're there, you gotta let us know that you're there, that you went to the show, and he comes out, takes pictures with you, got signs, autographs, right? And you know what? All the whole cast is amazing, man. When they come out, they smiling, they take pictures with you, they sign autographs. Man, this is a great show.
Yeah, he said today, Ma, there was people, 20, there were 20 people online. I had to go to a second show, but I stayed out there and took pictures and signed, and I remember when we went to Elmira, it was his first show. And after the show was over, I took a picture of him doing his first autograph.
Yeah.
And now he's like a pro at it.
Yeah, he did an on TV interview down in Tampa as well. So man, hey, if it comes in your neighborhood, make sure you check it out.
Yeah. He's going to be away all the way until April. He doesn't come back. So he'll be in places like Galveston, Texas. He'll be in Columbia. He'll be in California for the entire month of March. He's going to be in Alabama, Louisiana.
Yeah.
He's going to be in all the warm states while we're freezing.
That's okay. That's okay. I ain't mad.
All right. Next week
we got Steven Stacks. Remember we said we were going to start out with health. That's what we're doing tonight, right? Tonight we're going to be dealing with health. We got a wonderful health coach on. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff, so I need to get to it, right? But next week we promised that we would bring something on finances, right?
Yeah.
And two important things to go in the new year is your health and your resource, your finance, right? And so Steven Stacks is going to be coming on with us next week and doing some financial stuff, talking about some financial things as we go into 2025, right? And so, yeah, remember last, a couple of weeks ago, right? We were on the show with Craig Wong, and his whole focus was ending homelessness, right? And very powerful show. And now we're going to, I'll show you this video, right? And I'm going to introduce my guests.
All right.
For this week.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're climbing the corporate ladder, starting amazing businesses. We're making positive impacts on the world, all while raising little humans. I mean, come on. We're basically rock stars. But have you noticed we're busier and more tired than ever? Should I even talk about the impact it's taking on our health? Being awesome is exhausting. Hi, I'm Jenon, a certified integrative nutrition health coach and founder of Land of the Well. Land of the Well was created to show you how to make food your biggest superpower. I'm a working mom of 3 little ones, a solopreneur, resident home cook, a wife, and so much more. So I get it. A healthy lifestyle can be hard to fit into a hectic life. So I created simple ways to help busy women just like me live healthier and happier lives. We're in this together. So please, join me on my unfiltered journey to a life well lived.
Welcome, Jenon.
Hello.
Yeah, we got through all the stuff.
I'm just saying, where was the organ during the first part? I mean, we had a little church a little while ago.
Yeah, I've been excited since the end of the year, I'm trying to manifest life in 2025.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Everybody talking about death. Everybody talking about politics, man. I'm gonna be talking about life and the kingdom.
There you go.
Yeah. So welcome to the Blueprint, and Yeah, my pleasure. We had your husband on.
I know you put him on right before me. I'm like, I'm just talking about kale and broccoli. He's ending homelessness. I don't know up after that.
Well, a lot of health deals with homelessness. I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of the issues that unhealthy people that's mentally and physically
Hmm.
end up in poverty. Not getting educated, right?
Yeah.
People not allowing you to get educated. You know, so poverty's a real thing, and but you're going to be helping us though. I mean, I'm telling you, and so as we get started, to today, so talk about, I always think it's important on the show when you're interviewing somebody, and a lot of times you don't, interviews are so fast,
Hmm.
right? So people don't really get to know the guest. They're on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, and then next thing they're saying goodbye, or they're promoting the next movie, they're promoting the next business, and but they don't get to know the person being interviewed. So talk about growing up, man. Talk about mom and dad if they're siblings, and talk about that experience and their impact on you in regards to the importance of family, the importance of faith, and the importance of education and things they instilled in you.
Family is huge for me. As my husband shared, we've been married going on 14 years. We have three small children. There's my guy. Oh, oh. And family is important to us. They're so much bigger now, but that's when they were sweet. Um, hence why we're smiling. But I a lot of what I do now goes back to my childhood. I'm raised by a single mom. She worked for, there's my grandfather. He was a huge part of this journey for me because growing up, I had Southern grandparents. As you can see, he was in the military, so there was just a lot of structure. He was an avid fisherman, hunter. My grandmother was the best cook, hands down. James Beard has nothing on anything she ever cooked in that kitchen. My grandfather had an amazing garden in his backyard, but it was those Southern roots, right? Those just cooking basically what you caught, what you grew. Um, and there wasn't a lot of toil in it. It was just they both worked. But my grandmother would come home and she would say, let's have squash tonight, or we have some fish that you just caught there. And they would put together these meals. We didn't really know much about fast food and, ordering out. Uber Eats wasn't even a thing then. And we were just so much healthier then. We sat around a dinner table, talked about current events, life or whatever it was. We were a family. And we now fast forward, as I said in the video, we are doing so many things now. We're CEOs and conquering all the things in the finance world and businesses and all that. But our health is taking a hit because you can only run the race so long without taking care of yourself before you start to sputter out, right? So it's now my mission to kind of find that balance. And you were talking earlier about life and ascended life. And it's really important for us to kind of slow down, get back to some of those basic things, and make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Because this temple, like we said, we're celebrating a new year. But I love, my pastor, my other pop, he said today, and he says every new year, yes, this is a new year, but it's literally just a new day, right? Like we're just given today. So how can we use today and maximize it for, whether it's the glory of God or your health, whatever that thing is, you just have right now. So let's slow down and do what we're supposed to do right now.
Yeah, awesome. So talk a little bit about your current family. Talk about your husband and the kids and how they're doing right now, and their progress.
Well, hopefully you don't hear them because it sounds like they're doing okay right now.
Well, I got to tell you, I interviewed Hill Hopper. I don't know if you remember Hill
Mhm.
Hopper from the Good Doctor. So I had Hill
Yep.
on, and we were just having a conversation, and he was kind of in the dark, so you could see him, right? And out of nowhere, we saw something. I saw something coming, right? And he tapped him on the shoulder. It was his son, right? He just came out of nowhere, and so I interviewed both of them. I mean, he started doing. That's how I got my affirmations, because he knew about 48 affirmations. Son did at 4. And he was teaching them all these different affirmations. So we're used to kids. I mean, usually my
Don't say
grandkids are
that too
popping
loud.
in.
Don't say that too loud. My daughter put on her Grinch pajamas. I'm like, you are not part of this podcast. So if you see me go like this, that's me trying to push one off.
Yeah, okay.
But they are, it's a blessing. It gets exhausting because we're constantly on the go. We have all the things, even though we try to limit the activities and all the busyness so that we do have some downtime. But, I have a wonderful husband who fully supports and has, I don't want to say been compliant because that sounds like I'm cracking the whip over here. Um, but he doesn't give much resistance to because I think he sees the importance. We have elementary school kids and we're in our 50s, right? So I was racing my son after church today, and you talked earlier about that cold air this morning and that wind. I said, "Oh, wait a minute! I gotta step it up here." We have some years ahead of us to make sure that we can catch up and enjoy. So making sure we take care of ourselves is really important to us.
Yeah, my youngest daughter is always, I think she's in her 30s, so she's young enough to kind of run around, but she's always up, oh my God, I can't have no more kids.
I said I don't need a gym membership. I have Gold's Gym, Planet Fitness, and whatever else.
LA
Right here.
Fit.
There you go. Peloton is me running after them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so talk about growing up and in terms of what do you do? Is the health and the life coach thing you or
So I have a corporate job. I've been at my company going on 27 years. It was
okay?
my first job out of school. Um, and I've just had a passion for there's a term now, health and wellness, right? Whatever the buzzword is of the day, but just being healthy has always been a thing for me. I have an aunt who was always a vegetarian, and I just thought that that was the coolest thing. My cousin, I would babysit her on the weekends, and I'm like, this is so cool. We're having shrimp scampi and all these like exotic meals. But I noticed, how good she always felt, how good she always looked. And I just said, like, there's something to that. My cousin, she actually grew up and she was a professional athlete, played in the WNBA. Um, Again, it was just some of those healthy habits, I want to say, that really I think was a huge part of her success and her health and how strong she was. And that really meant a lot to me. And one day, I think I was 13 and I came home from school and I told my mom, I was like, I'm not eating meat anymore.
Mm.
And she said, come again? I said, I'm not going to eat meat anymore. And she says, I just came from the grocery store and got all the bacon that was on sale. You can stop eating meat after you finish that freezer. So whether I finished it all or not is up for debate. But after that, I stopped eating four-legged animals. beef and pork, not for any spiritual reasons or not. It was really just like, oh, let me see if I can do that. Now, 50, however many years later, it's just something that has stuck with me, and it's helped me to kind of lean more towards healthier things. But again, I still had that foundation of eating just about every vegetable that can be grown in the Northeast, eating every fish possible that my grandfather could catch. And I was raised in a school, and I'm sure you'll understand this, where there was only one pot cooking, and whatever was put on that plate, you were eating. There weren't multiple choices. You weren't going to have, everybody wasn't going to get a meal. If it was succotash for dinner, it was succotash that you were eating. So I think that kind of opened my palate to eating some of the, you go to restaurants now, you can pay $25 for Brussels sprouts. I'm like, wait, come again? That's the vegetable that everybody used to not want when their aunt cooked it because it smelled like somebody passed gas. But now it's a popular thing. So, it's just really kind of going back to some of those foundations that I grew up with because of the family that I had and their background, and, whether it's gardening or fishing or hunting or whatever it was, just keeping it simple and keeping it home cooked.
Yeah. And so, so but you inspired, like you graduate from high school, you decide, what was the dream? I mean, you're in high school. What was the dream?
Well, I am from Mount Vernon, but my last name is not Washington. And Heavy D, we're gonna get Mount Vernon a big shout out because we produce the best.
Yes.
The best. And President Medal of Honor, the best. So y'all forgot to mention that. But anyway.
We sure did. Yeah, he just got that this
just
weekend.
Got it. But he was supposed to get it with Obama.
Oh, okay.
But it was I think he ended up somebody got COVID or something like that, and he wasn't able to make it. So he didn't come. But he finally got it.
There we go. So, I think graduated from high school, went to college. It's funny because Craig and I both we started out as physical therapy majors. I actually, at some point, wanted to be a doctor. Then I was like, yeah, that's a whole lot of school. So maybe I'll do physical therapy. And then they showed me the syllabus midway through, and I had to take anatomy and physiology. And they said, you're going to have to, dissect dead people. I went straight to the counselor's office and changed my major. I don't do dead people. I don't do fakes. I go in after the box is closed. I don't do dead people. But again, I could see that I wanted to do something. I'm just being honest. I wanted to do something with health and wellness, whatever it was. I wanted to make sure people felt good. So funny enough, I actually changed my major to mass communications because I was also a theater undergrad. So I studied theater under Chanel Perry Ryder, who was one of my professors. I love her. She became like family to me. She was very instrumental. She was Lorraine Hansberry's cousin who did Raisin in the Sun. So studied theater for many, many years. Went to mass communications. I thought maybe I would end up on Good Morning America or something like that. Because as you can see, I like to talk. But going back to that military background, my grandfather said, there will be no starving artists here. You're going to get a job. And I was like, well, acting is a job. He was like, no, I mean like pension W-2 job. So going back to my professor, she gave me a internship at Channel 11 here down in the city. Did an internship there. It's coming up to graduation. Had no idea what I was going to do. Had an argument with a random guy about the Knicks and the Bulls back when it was Ewing and Jordan. And he said to me, anybody that can defend those bums needs to come and work for me. Oh, and I was like, okay. So I ended up working in the television industry for 20 plus years, and here I am.
Wow. Oh, that's
That
awesome.
was very long-winded. Sorry.
No, that was good. No, that was real good. And so talk about like how did you transition? You still in, doing your career job now, right? And then you added to it along with 3 kids, a
As
husband,
if I needed anything else to
right?
do.
Well, I'm gonna look to my right a little bit over here. It must be a women's thing. I mean, they got 29 things.
Don't
Yeah.
hate. Don't hate because you can't multitask.
There you go. We know how to juggle it. We may be tired, but we'll juggle it.
That's why God made you help me.
I think you should be the helpmeet.
Because since you all professing to be the multitasker, let me throw a couple of things over there. If I don't throw them, somebody else gonna throw them, and she gonna
That's
start
true.
juggling. That's
And I'm gonna catch him.
yeah. And I was just saying to her, didn't I just say to you the other day? Sometimes you gotta stop, pause, think about you, right? Because you only get one you, right?
You have to fill your own cup.
Right? And if you don't make the investment in you, right, ultimately, man, you can't make the investment in other people
Right.
and other things. You can't keep it up. Sooner or later, it's all going to take you down. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so yeah, since being on the focus as we go into 2025, and knowing that people are making resolutions, knowing people that going to be fasting, for whatever the reason, spiritual reasons, habit. We do this every year. We don't know why we do it, but we're gonna do it. And there's a lot of people that do it and have purpose, right? But when we look at going in CVS or Walgreens, or man, there are more people, getting prescriptions. I mean, by the droves. I mean, you can't go in and the line's not all the way back to whatever. I mean, everybody has just. When you go to the doctor's office packed. The hospitals are packed. Every emergency rooms are packed, right? And here we are in 2025, right? And this can't be good.
No.
We're living in a society, man, of a lot of sick people. And that goes for people whether they be outside of the church or inside of the church, right? And so, and a lot of times people just not aware,
Right.
right? I don't think we had much of a choice growing up, right? Because like you said earlier, we didn't have fast food places.
Right.
And our parents ate collard greens, pig feet, chitterling. I'm still choking over that one.
Right. Right.
Fat bat, all that kind of stuff. And they lived a long time eating that stuff.
Right.
Some of
Right.
them.
Yeah, I mean, but
Well, it wasn't as processed, right?
That is true.
That back then was exactly
Fatback,
what
yeah.
it was, and
Right.
it was used, and it wasn't the abundance of what it is now. Now you'll go into the city and you'll pay some astronomical price for fat back, elevated, cooked in duck fat, and it's just like, well, hold on. Then it was just used to season your collard greens or whatever it is. But you made a good point, and just two things. I think what came up to me is you asked what helped me make the shift, and talking about doctors, and then I'm also reminded of the church, and I'll try to keep this as quick as possible.
Take your
I
time.
know Brother James Jones, who
Yes.
was
my
just a-
father and my mentor. Yes.
we just loved him, and he was just a man of faith, a man of prayer. And I never forget one morning we had Saturday morning prayer, and I was in the back, and it was cold, and I was grumpy because it was early. And but one thing about Brother Jones, when he got to praying, you were gonna get on the good foot.
That's right.
And he came in the back, and he was praying about, because we had, some members dealing with diabetes, and being a health coach and being quick with my mouth sometimes, he was just praying about, Lord, and take away sugar diabetes and take away that. I said, and Lord, tell them to stop eating the cake. And I didn't realize I said it out loud. Excuse me. But, it was funny because Sister Garner said later, she said, I heard you. And I was like, I'm sorry, but was I lying? And, why
That's
I
true.
became a health coach, I went to school, got trained, studied, all the things, is because I was one of those people at CVS, at Walgreens, standing in line for a prescription. I suffered with debilitating migraines in my early 20s. Couldn't really figure out like what was going on. Thank God for good health insurance. So I was able to have all the MRIs, CAT scans, neurologists, all the tests, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And I never forget, I was in the office one day and they handed me 3 boxes and an injection. I do not like needles. I'd rather go into labor than get a shot. And I said, well, what is this for? Like, what's wrong? They said, well, we don't know, but this will help you deal with the symptoms. And I'm like, so I'm supposed to take 3 pills and a shot for like how long, just because you can't figure out? And I was just like floored. And the medication, I remember there was one medication and it was 6 pills that I was only allowed to have, I think, every few months. And it was $125 with insurance. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I was telling my mom, and she says, I think you need to keep a food journal. She said, because maybe something is setting you off. Lo and behold, fast forward a few weeks, I discovered that I can't eat aged cheese. Cheese is one of my favorite food groups. I love putting Parmesan, cheddar, all the cheeses on everything. The day that I stopped eating those cheeses is the day that I realized I didn't have a migraine again. So sometimes there are things that we are doing, whether we know it or not. I mean, there are some people who will still down a bottle of Benadryl so that they can eat things that they know that they're allergic to. But there are some things, sometimes, we just don't know. And when you talk to your doctor, I have a friend who is a medical doctor, and I was just sharing with him with the journey because they started to pick back up a few years ago. And he was just saying, if you're allergic or if you're sensitive to cheese, you might be sensitive to foods that are high in histamine. So I looked it up, and those are healthy things: spinach, oranges, strawberries. My body doesn't break down those things the same way, so I have to watch what I'm eating. It may be something different for somebody else, and not that that is the answer to all the issues, because there are some things that we do have that may not be food related, but there are some things that we can do to take care of our temple, right? Like, we are to be stewards over this body that God has given us. Just like you said to your wife, we have to take care of this temple, this body, so that we can do whatever the purpose for our lives is.
Yeah, and so talk about something I had mentioned earlier to you about. Let's look at the spiritual health. Let's talk about spiritual health, and then we'll just kind of go down, because I think that's the highest level when you know when we where we need to be thinking about
Yeah.
is spiritual health and its impact on us.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that in terms of, well, talk about it from a holistic perspective, because when you talk about health, we can just talk about the food, or we can just talk about the stress, or but talk about it
But
holistically.
holistically, you're right. It is a bigger picture. And this time of year, gyms are always full in January. Health food is always the first thing on the turnstile, on the belt at the supermarkets, because those are the things that people focus on. But we have to look at it in a holistic standpoint, because when you're stressed, then you wonder why you're hugging up with a pint of Haagen-Dazs at night, because you're trying to deal with, whatever that stress is. Or, spiritually, again, I feel, as I'm a Christian, I think my husband had shared that. So that is our foundation for everything that we do. Um, there isn't any question to anything in life that isn't answered in God's word. And to us, everything that we build on top of that is only gravy, right? So I think the spiritual piece, because that will help you deal with stress. Not that stress isn't going to come, not that worry or fear isn't going to come, but just having that foundation in prayer and communion and closeness with the Lord is the first thing that we have to start with, right? So yes, spiritual to me is the first block. Food, the activity, and people don't realize just having a sense of community, having people around you, that is so healing as living out your passion. If you're sitting there burying gifts, if there's something inside of you that God wants to come out and you're sitting here and you're not doing it, that's going to manifest some way too. So there are just so many different components that come to our overall well-being that really matters to how healthy. And that's why I say, a healthy and a happy lifestyle, because I don't care if you walking in a Whole Foods and you look like the grumpiest person, or you don't look too healthy to me. I don't care if everything you have is vegan and, whatever. How do you feel? How what are you doing? Are you walking in unforgiveness? Are you walking in love? Those are the things that matter. We were just sharing earlier about, Mrs. Young, 102 years old. Like, of course, but just think about all the wonderful things that were said at her funeral. That's because she lived. She lived the word. She raised her family. She was reaching out to the community. So it's just so much more than having some greens and, a healthy smoothie or whatever it is, or saying that you took 10,000 steps a day. Holistically is, to me, the key to your health.
Yeah. So now I add to that question. Now you got all, you got this spiritual help. People that are going to Bible study, Sunday school, going to church, all the services, professing, but yet like they're still in a bad way health wise, because
You about to get me in trouble.
And they're doing all the spiritual things.
Probably get his own self in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Well, I only got to answer to one person, right? I mean, I can answer here down here. I answer the her, but up there, he's the final say. So but there's a lot of sick people in faith, who are spiritual, who are doing all the right things spiritually, right? But their focus is just on the spiritual aspect, and they're not thinking about what's mental, and they're not thinking about what's physical. Because sometimes when you go, after the event, the service, right?
The fried chicken dinner.
Yeah, you're going downstairs, and the mac and
punch
cheese
that has more sugar in it than. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
Lord have mercy.
We can have faith for a whole lot of things. We can have faith to move mountains, but we can't have enough obedience to say no to some things that we know we don't need. Now, yes, I love a good piece of fried chicken. I would love mac and cheese if I could eat it, but you don't eat it all the time, right? And if we're having prayer lines for diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, well, guess what? We need to do our part for our faith community to make sure that they're also fueling their bodies physically with the right things. And yes, I know getting Pathmore fried chicken is economically right to feed a big crowd, but it doesn't mean that we always need it, right? So going back to that smart comment that I made when Brother Jones was praying, maybe it's not best that we serve a community of diabetics the cake. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we find something else to give them, because either we're going to to properly feed people spiritually as well as physically, or we're just not. And there's that song, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. We can beat the tambourine to that one, but the army is sick. And we're spending a
Oof,
whole lot of
Jesus.
time praying for the army when, like I said, I grew up in a military background. My grandfather, my uncles, my dad, so I get it. But imagine what kind of military we would have if we fed them the junk that we eat on a day to day. We're not going out to any battlefield expecting to win because they're going to be sick as a dog and they're not going to be able to do anything. It's the same in the church, right? Like, we have to just feed our people not only the word of God and God's truth, but we have to give them the natural information that they need to be healthy as well. And I think that that's key. Not saying that we're not going to pray and we're not going to do the things. I understand that sometimes there's some, some strongholds, there's some mental things going on. I'm not overlooking that because I get it. I've been there. But I think we as a church need to do a better job as well. And you're going to get a whole lot of pushback. I remember one time at my church, my brother started this, I want to say it was called like active wellness or active fitness. And on Sundays he would show us different types of movements and exercises. And then there was some of us that we would do like healthy treats. And man, you want to talk about getting in trouble? Because some of them people were like, I didn't come here for quinoa. I came here for Panama fried chicken. But when you gave them a chance to taste it, they were like, wait a minute, that's not so bad. One sister made some chocolate pudding. Actually, it was Pastor Garner's daughter-in-law. She made chocolate pudding, but she made it with avocados. Half them people didn't even know avocado was in it. So sometimes it is just opening up someone's eyes to just seeing a different and a better way.
Yeah. And so when you talk about health, around food, eating healthier, right there, I think there's many ways to be healthy. I mean, and you got to find that for yourself. So talk about the difference. When people say, "I'm a vegan," I'm vegetarian. I'm pescatarian. I mean, there's just
pescatarian, keto, this one.
yeah. So, because I think I just want really, for people, I think everybody wants a healthy lifestyle and wants to know what that looks like.
Right.
Because, organic is selling. We don't know if it's organic. Right. Some things may be organic. Vegan, one of the things I found, we tested for about a year. The vegan thing, but a lot of the stuff that we were actually buying had a lot of sodium. It was
processed.
a lot of processed stuff, and so you don't really know, right? And then now everywhere you go, there's a vegan restaurant, right? You can get vegan this, vegan that. You don't know whether it's good or bad for you. So give us some awareness.
This is recorded, right? Because I'm trying to stay out of trouble. I'm trying to be so nice.
Yeah, this is not the time to be nice when it comes to people dying, right? And the amount of people standing on CVS lines.
Right. And there's so many things. So organic, and again, I'm coming from a media advertising background. I understand the marketing aspect of it, right? Organic, non-GMO, this one, that one. Realistically, organic is just the way that we always used to farm prior to the late 80s. All of the stuff that's being sprayed on our crops now wasn't going on back then. So, you'll see this thing out now. There's a big push against Kellogg. Oh man, we can go so far here, but what we do in this country to our food is not being done to the same food that we send to other countries. And I'm sure you know, like you travel to other countries, McDonald's doesn't taste the same. Kellogg's cereal isn't the same because a lot of countries have banned some of the additives that we use here in this country. Why that's going on, that's a whole nother conversation. But organic, I try to buy primarily organic food because at least I know I'm doing my part, right? Like whether they spray it or not, I don't know, but I do know that if it's not organic, then it probably has been sprayed, right? Vegan, pescatarian, all of that. I do think plant-based diets are the best, meaning having more plants on your plate. When I work with people, I try to say at least let 75% of your plate be something that you can picture growing somewhere, not processed somewhere, right? So have all the vegetables, have the grains, have the carbs. I'm not one to say don't eat bread, don't eat potatoes, don't eat that. Eat the things, right? Because our bodies, God created a body that knows how to break those things down. Now, in this country, our plates have shifted the opposite way. So it's very trendy to have a tomahawk ribeye where you have this big piece of steak that's taking up most of your plate, and you might have a little squish of, spinach and one potato. That's backwards. Vegan, we spoke about that earlier. Vegan is basically a plant-based life, right? You're not eating anything that has animal byproducts in it. But I remember saying to someone one time, they created this vegan dish that they wanted me to taste. And then I saw Crisco. I was like, well, I don't eat Crisco. And she's like, oh, but I don't use butter in this. I said, you would be much better off eating a ham sandwich than eating that Crisco every day. Like, I don't care if you say you're vegan, if you're still eating a bunch of processed foods to make it taste like something else, you're doing your body a disservice. Just eat whole, real food. Again, just like my grandparents used to eat, just like our moms, that like the system back before we became so fast paced and nobody wants to slow down to cook a meal, right? So we can put ourselves in all these buckets. I don't really say, you asked me earlier, am I a vegan? No, I try to eat mostly a plant-based life, but I have chicken waiting for me downstairs today. Like, hopefully. But, we had them. I have one daughter who doesn't eat much meat. I have one daughter who, like her father, will eat anything walking. And then I have a son that can just go with the breeze, right? But what it is, it's just making sure that we kind of dial back and make sure the food that we're eating is as whole as possible. And if you put the fat back in your collard greens, that's fine. But just make sure you're eating what is actually going to fuel your body, not bring disease to you.
And that fat back ain't in everything. It should be just done. If
Right.
you're gonna do it for that, you do it
Right.
for that.
And we didn't eat the fat back, right? Like that
No,
was
we
always the
didn't.
last piece that was always the last thing in the pot because it was just to season the greens, which is fine. But
Nowadays, people put turkey in their greens because they
Right.
don't do fat back. But
Right.
whatever the case may be, that's what
Yep.
people do. I think about as you've been talking, about this healthy eating and healthy lifestyle. Lowe's had somebody on the show a couple of weeks back, maybe about three shows back, and you're talking about organic. And I think probably one of the healthiest ways to have your vegetables is to grow it yourself, because then you know what you put in it, you know what's there, and so people are getting more into gardening and having their own vegetables that they've cultivated and they've grown themselves. And so I think that might not be a bad way for us to kind of get back into our wholeness, into our healthiness. Is to the problem with growing vegetables is that if you eat them all the time, you got to grow them all the time.
and maybe it's just because my love for my grandparents and just growing up in a garden. Our garden here at my house is a big part of our lives. My kids love it. I do gardening with my Girl Scouts. It's my form of workout because taking care of a garden is no joke. But then I also know everybody doesn't have access to a backyard, right? Everybody isn't able to grow their own food. Now there are some things, you can grow lettuce inside. There are different things. I'm growing some stuff up here in my attic that I don't want to die outside right now in the winter, but everybody doesn't have access to organic food or a backyard to grow things. So sometimes, I don't think that, and we probably need to get back to this anyway. There's nothing wrong with canned goods. There's nothing wrong with frozen food. If you have access to it. I do understand that there are food deserts where people don't have access to good food, but I think if the focus is less on the labeling and just more on the wholeness, there's nothing wrong with just going to the grocery store and getting a frozen pack of broccoli. That's fine. And just eating some of those basic foods. And it's funny. I usually do my grocery shopping Saturday early morning, and like many people, but I usually do this once a quarter anyway. I try to lean towards moving us to just more plant-based, just trying to get our bodies set for the next few months or whatever. And I had about 5 grocery bags, and I want to say I do remember my bill was $102, no change, because at Trader Joe's you get a free bag when there's no cents. And I'm like, wow, I had enough vegetables and grains and potatoes, and I do buy milk because I have young kids, but I had a lot of groceries that'll probably last me for at least a week and a half with the 5 of us for $102. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, or it does sound like a lot to some people because groceries are really expensive right now. But when you buy some of the healthier foods, you don't need as much, and it doesn't cost you as much because meat's expensive right now, eggs are expensive right now, and you just don't need as much as I'm sorry, I'm just trying to watch the chat, as much as as we're used to, especially in this country. We just overdo it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's interesting because you can't. There's nothing you can say on here tonight that could get you in trouble that Brother Barry didn't say. I mean, he was
a little raw.
Yeah,
just like his vegetables.
Yeah, he was. He just said it plain. He talked about everybody out there, the genetically modified foods. I mean, he was mentioning names. Bad. I mean, yeah, he bad. he just let it. He didn't care. He just let it go. I
just try not, because I can find myself sometimes getting in the weeds and going down that rabbit hole and being mad at I'm like, yeah, Kellogg's, like, why are you putting these food because I have a child who's very sensitive to the artificial food dyes. Like, he won't admit it, but we've seen as a child, I could always tell when he had birthday cake at daycare or a drink of Gatorade because his body just reacts to it differently. And I'm like, so Kellogg's, why are you putting that in our cereal? And the cereal you send to every other country out of here, it's not in there. Like, come again? And it's made out of petroleum, which is causing us cancer, which is so there's this whole cycle. But rather than go down that trail, because sometimes I can get in it and I get upset about it, all I know is I can just do what I know to do is best. Take the first best next step. And that's just eat the things that I know that actually are good for my body, good for my family. And that's it. Not saying that we won't have treats, not saying that we won't eat cake. I'm not telling anybody to go to a wedding and, oh no, I'm on a diet, or oh no, I'm not going to eat the cake. Hogwash.
Eat the cake, Annie Mae.
Eat the cake, Annie Mae. You going down to Aunt Beulah house knowing that she makes the best fried chicken in the world, and you talking about, oh no, I'm vegan. You better eat that chicken.
Man, let me tell you something. We were working on vegan, right? We working on it.
Don't tell the story. You go put us on blast.
Yeah, put us on blast. So we was vegan. We had a whole year.
We were doing good.
We was doing really good, yeah. And then our friends invited us down to their house, right? And they said, hey, look, we're gonna make you some lamb chops, right? And we've been sauteing them for about 3 or 4
Down goes
days.
Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Man, he put them on the grill. We got
Brushing them with the olive oil.
yeah, man. We got the Baltimore, and it was over. She gonna taste everybody's lamb chops. Every restaurant, you got lamb chops.
And it's okay, you know it.
I do put vegetables on my plate. I have to say.
But you know, it shouldn't be torture, right? Like I made the comment about nobody's gonna follow a healthy lifestyle if you walking in the Whole Foods and you look like, you know, your face is like, come on, that's not even a good advertisement. But I will say, you know, there was a Vietnam vet that I was working with some years ago, had been on insulin just about all of his life, had so many health challenges. And he's like, I'm just sick of the VA. I'm just like, if I take another pill, you know, he was just at his wit's end. And I remember his wife was like, just tell me, what should we do? I said, well, I'm not a doctor. So, you know, I'm like, run this by your doctor. Let's just see. And he was like, just tell me what to do. And I said, let's just try a plant-based lifestyle for a little while and let's just see how it goes. They went all in. Every night I'm like, okay, let's make this. Let's try this. She says, I didn't realize, you know, I'll do turkey sometimes in my collard greens, but most of the time, and Pastor going to tell you, I make good collard greens, and half the time they don't even know there's not a drop of meat in it. I'll put smoked paprika in there, and you'll think a ham hock is in there. And, you know, I was just walking him through some different recipes, got off the insulin, half of the medication went away, lost a ton of weight, was feeling the best. He was, you know, went back to doing the push-ups, like, you know, on his knuckles. And it was just making those changes. And then, you know, you can implement, you can have some. It's funny you say lamb chops, because those are my weakness too. I don't eat 4 legs. But there are sometimes when I'm like, I can have a little lamb today, especially around Easter. I'm like, let me put that leg right on the grill. So I get it. And again, it shouldn't be torture, but most of the time we should just be fueling our body with the things that it needs. And many of us know what we should not be doing. But
you know, you mentioned something earlier today on the show, I think, even about the migraines and certain things that you could eat and not eat. And many years ago, I started having like cysts in my body, and the doctor said caffeine causes inflammation in those particular areas. And I noticed that every time that I would eat anything chocolate, anything, just smoke, any coffee, anything like that, I would, somewhere down the line, I would start having this excruciating pain in these areas. And I'm like, what's going on? And the doctor said, you're having a reaction to this. And so I gave up chocolate. Well, you should see when people. So I don't eat nuts. Certain nuts I can't eat because I can't digest them. I know if a nut has gone that I'm not supposed to eat goes down my throat, because it'll sit there for days and right in the nape of my neck, and I can't digest it. And so I know that I can't eat it, and so I gave it up. And so people look at me and they say, "You can't eat chocolate. You can't eat nuts." So. To be honest with you, I think there's certain things that I need to also stop eating that would help me in this journey that I need to be on, because I know that my weight is I have like we talked about menopause, right? My hips and certain parts of my body are in pain, and the doctor said to me the other day, "You've done everything you need to do, now lose some weight." I mean, he had to say it, right? And I know that I do, but if I was always very active, I can hardly move because of how bad my legs hurt. But the only way that I'm going to be able to do this is through diet, through changing my eating habits, you know, which are not really that bad, but I can definitely make some adjustments to it. And so now it's the time to make those adjustments. So we're excited about your vision.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny because oftentimes I always say, here comes the hot potato. Usually the doctor, and I love doctors. I love my doctor, so I'm not anti-doctor. But you will often hear diet and exercise. Like, okay, you need diet and exercise, but what does that even look like? And when I was talking to one of my friends who is a medical doctor, he said, Jenon, there's a conversation that I can have with you because I know that you'll do it. He was like, but most of my patients, he's like, almost 99% of my patients, I'll tell them what to do and they just won't do it because it's just easier to do, oh, okay, I know I'm just going to have this ache, but I just really want to have the chocolate. You want to eat healthy? Okay, I'm going to eat healthy. But then you go and you pick up salad dressing. It has 25 grams of added sugar, but it says fat free. They take out the fat, they put in the sugar so that you'll actually like it. So there are just so many things that, changing your diet. You can exercise for 4 hours and you still won't work off one Oreo. So there are just so many things that come into play that, lose weight. It's different for every person.
Yeah, no question. I had a friend tell me the other day, why don't you try Ozempic? What? I can't do that. I said, I did Weight Watchers many years ago, and it was probably the best that I ever did because it helped me to settle my portion control. And a lot of times people think not eating or missing a meal is the way, and that's not the way either because so yeah, it's a journey, and it's somebody needs to really help walk you through it, just like they walk you through counseling for anything else and finances and whatever else. You really need somebody to I was an athlete, so I'm really good with somebody giving me direction.
Right. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's just the simple things. I tell people, okay, you want to do a resolution, you want to start the new year off right, 30 days, drink only water. Watch how much weight you'll lose. Cut out all the I don't care if it's 100% juice or, tea with low. I'm not talking diet drinks, anything. Just drink water. You gonna fit into that little black dress real fast because we eat and drink so much sugar that we don't even realize it, and our taste buds are just like numb to what things taste like, right? Another thing I say, and slow down when you eat. Get back to the dinner table. Get off your phone. Turn off the TV. Okay, if you live by yourself, we can have another conversation. But the two of you, sit down at the dinner table. Have your meal. Have a conversation. Slow down when you're eating, because most of the time we eat so fast because we got to go do the next thing that our brain doesn't even have time, or our stomach doesn't even have time to tell our brains, I'm full.
Wow.
Right? But we slow down and we take our time and we're grateful for the meal that we have. You'll start to eat less because you will yes, you could drink seltzer water.
That's the good thing about it for me. And the good part and the bad part. The good part is I only drink water and seltzer water. So that means I don't have anything to lose. I can't cut it out. So now I'm like, geez, what else I got to do? But
even our coffee. Well, you're not drinking coffee anymore.
I don't drink coffee. I do mushroom. I've been doing the mushroom coffee.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I've been doing that, and I do that maybe once a day. But I don't do coffee at all. So, but you know what, we got to get, we do have to get better. Lowe's, I see up here, and I want to shout out Land of the Well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about
my girlfriend Belinda Jackson put that together for me.
Belinda.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been a long time.
Yeah, she created that.
Yeah.
Excuse my cough.
So yeah, talk about how people can connect with you. We got the website up there.
Whose pie is that?
Oh no, it looked good. It looked good though.
You had the one on one of your Instagram pages. You had that pie up there. I was like, okay, that must be a vegetarian pie or something.
No, there's butter in that crust. No crystal. There's butter in that crust. I tell you.
So yeah, talk about how people can get in touch with you and what you have in terms of how the process works and whether you helping them develop a plan, because most people don't have a plan. I mean, right. God talks about have a vision. a people without a vision will perish.
Yep.
People without a plan. He said, write it down, make it
Ooh, that
plain.
looks good.
So talk about, how people start and finish well.
I could have that right there for my Daniel fest.
Yeah,
That looks so good.
it's funny because I think we overcomplicate things. We look at Food Network and we say, "Oh, I can't cook those things." I'm not a chef. I can't. Who has time? And I'll be the first to tell you, with these three little children, they hate when I call them jokers. But these, we're busy. So I know, and Craig and I both work. So I know it's not easy, but I look at it as an investment, right? Like I like to cook. So that's never going to be right now. That's not my struggle. I love to get into the kitchen and create new things. But sometimes it's just simple, right? We can go to Chipotle and design these, burrito bowls and this, that, and the other. You could do that at your house. You know how to make rice. All you got to do is read the instructions on the back. And then what else do you have in your kitchen that you can add? Okay, in that video, I had some avocado, slice some avocado. Oh, I got some black beans in the cabinet. There we go. Well, I'm gonna put the black beans in there with some bell peppers that I have leftovers from something else. I always have mushrooms. And you just kind of build on it with things that you like. I like cilantro. I know a lot of people don't, so I put a ton of that on there and just eat food that you like. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Wow.
What I think one of the biggest problems with people, right? And we are, well, we really need a paradigm shift because it's our paradigms, our culture, right? How we grew up, the things we ate growing up, and a lot of us, particularly black folks, everything is based on taste. So if it don't taste good, it ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't know how to eat to live. And so that's a challenge. When you're talking about the bean products, eating more fiber, eating more beans and so forth and so. But people's like, it don't taste good.
Not true.
And then, but I know, man, my mother I had to like every year. She always said, "Yeah, I'm going in there for New Year's. I'll make some black eyed peas,
collard greens,
and that's what she was doing." And the other day, she said, I was over there yesterday, and she said, "Yeah, man." I said, "What'd you eat?" She said, "I had some black eyed peas." I'm like, "Oh," because I remember what I experienced about the black eyed peas was how much sugar I put on them.
You put sugar in your black eyed peas?
Look, my mother wanted me to eat them. She wanted me. She said, "Look, you gonna eat those black eyed peas?" I said, "Where the sugar at?" The only way they going down is something got to be on them. So we have to change. That's a paradigm shift. Because we think one way.
Right.
And you know what the society fulfills. Like you go to the Chinese style. Most black people don't eat the Chinese food really. They go get chicken wings and fries.
Right.
Because and they make them. I'm sure.
And there's sugar on the chicken wings. P.S.
Yeah, so I'm saying, but they know what's going to sell for them in our neighborhood.
Right.
Right. So everybody that's in our neighborhood said, that's what black folks eat right here.
Right.
Right. So they bring fast foods in here because they know that's what we eat.
Right.
And it's also not expensive, so it's what we can afford. So that's why a lot of times there's unhealthy food. There's food insecurities in our communities, and so there's the cheaper, more processed type, high sugar, high dye factor foods are in our communities because that's what we can afford to eat.
That's why Popeyes is on Prospect and Mount Vernon and not on Garth Road and Scarsdale.
That's right.
Another conversation for another day.
And then the juice, like they got a couple of juice places here. I can't remember the name of them. There are a couple of black folks making folks own. And I went in there, and I think there's a lot of people that want to eat healthy. Because I'm looking at looking at the signs of what they say. They got kale in there, they got spinach in it, and they blending them all up. I think, and people are juicing like that.
Right.
The question is trying to figure out what other ingredients that makes it taste so good. But it seems like people they want that. I mean, they
Right.
want to juice. They want to eat healthy.
And
You know.
it is you mentioned a good thing about you want it to taste good. I like to cook, but I like to cook food that's good and that people are going to eat. And I see a few people in the chat that know me. So they will shout me out if I'm lying. But I want to everything that comes. I'll tell you this. My husband is of Jamaican descent. And there are some things when I'm like, "Oh no, brother, you're not eating that anymore." Because that's going to take, we got these kids to raise. That's going to take you out of here. So there are just some recipes that we've had to alter and take out some of the processed food and implement some of the better quality, or there's a dish called stew peas. They make them with pigtail. You get pigtails in this bucket that's filled with all kinds of stuff to preserve it. I'm like, okay, what is the taste that we're trying to achieve here? And then we played around with it, and now we make stew peas with turkey necks that we roast here, and it tastes just, I don't eat pigtail, but he says he doesn't miss it. So I'm not saying, again, we're not torturing ourselves. We don't want to die on the cross saying that, oh well, I had the kale smoothie and I didn't put any sugar on my beans. I want you to enjoy your food, but now we just have to figure out how to do that paradigm shift, how to break those strongholds and start to eat. I had
You also have to tame your taste buds, because
well, and
sometimes your taste buds control what you eat, and there is a psychological impact. I heard people say, I did a study in physiological psychology many years ago, and we did a study on the brain, and I did this whole thing on I did surgery on animals on the brain, and we had to do experiments on animals that were like the fat. I did a fat rat, right, and through the hypothalamus and all that, and all these different things, and they were saying that you could actually eat. Why is it that you can eat a full meal and still have room for dessert when you couldn't eat the rest of the meal because your body shut off on that meal, but there's a whole nother area where the dessert comes in, and so you're empty in the dessert area, but you're full in the food area. What is happening here? And that people don't necessarily understand that there's a taste bud, and it impacts your brain, and it releases hormones, endorphins, that kind of come in that cause you to feel a sense of pleasure when you eat certain foods.
And there's a known fact. There's been studies on this as well. Brain scans. Sugar and cocaine light up the same area as in the brain. So sugar is just as addictive as cocaine. But
and you can have withdrawal. Stopping.
Absolutely.
Oh, people don't. I remember years ago when I went through this complete stoppage of it, and one day I was out somewhere and I started having like something was happening to me, like I was going to pass out, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I realized I had reached the pinnacle of the amount of days without the sugar, without it, and I started to have like an absolute my body was withdrawing from it, and once I got past it, I was fine, but it was crazy while I was in it, the feelings that I was having, and I realized that was going on. So, a lot of people, just like you don't want to go through a withdrawal on drugs,
Right.
withdrawal of sugar is also something that people are trying to avoid because there's some feelings that come with that.
And that's when I'll say, have a sweet potato, with your dinner. It's still, it's a running joke on my Instagram feed. Bake them, don't boil them, because they're sweet for a reason. The sugar develops as you bake it. So have a baked sweet potato. Have fruit. There's nothing wrong with fruit. Apples, pear, whatever fruit you want, because you're still going to get that sweet sensation. Make, right now, because we talked about menopause, we need to have that menopause show, but that's just...
Girl, yeah, we're going to do that.
But I have ice pops that I made in the freezer with coconut milk and different fruit and stuff like that, because when you go in different hormonal stages, you do start to crave a little bit more. But I know I'm trying to stay off of the sugar. So there are just so many, again, it's that change in the mind that we have to. And I just want to make sure somebody keeps asking about drink the water. Yes. So just try water for 30 days. No juice, no soda, nothing else. I just think that's a
And
great
not, well,
start.
not coffee and stuff like that either.
You can have coffee, just don't make it a milkshake, right? Like keep the milk out of it. Um, Try not to sweeten it. Because you don't want to, it's the same thing. We're trying to take the sugar out of it because what's going to happen is after that 30 days, we're going back to the taste buds. When you have something sweet, you're going to drink the same orange juice that you always used to drink or whatever that juice or soda is, and it's going to taste 10 times sweeter than you ever thought it did because you're giving your taste buds time to reset.
But it's funny you say that. I'm so used to just drinking water and seltzer water that if there's nothing like that to drink and I accidentally, somebody gives me a Sprite or they give something, I have like a reaction, like, oh, that's disgusting. Like it feels sweeter than it normally does. Yeah, and it's crazy because our grandchildren, they're 4 and 3, and even the baby, but the 3-year-old, she says, "Can I have some seltzer water, please?" Seltzer water. They're little kids, but they drink like we all drink seltzer water. I remember when my godson first came here, he's like, "What is that? You're drinking seltzer water? That is disgusting." Now everybody, we're all out, and they said, "We was like, we can have a bottle of Pellegrino, like because we have. That's what we drink."
And that's what and someone just put in the chat, can you add lemons and limes? Yes, because that's what we do here at our house. We do Pellegrino with lemons and lime. So lemon and lime is fine. It's just making sure it's the sugar that we're taking out.
Yeah. No, that's pretty awesome, man. I tell you, this has been a journey of an educative journey as far as eating healthy, and I think it requires so much more than even this show. We've had one of our friends, Brenda Crump. She is a devout, without any hesitation, she is a devout vegan. And and it comes down to like everything that she uses is it's plant-based. She doesn't play with it. She doesn't waver. If somebody offers her meat, she's not trying to hear it or anything. She is all in, and and she's always working on me, and she'll say, "Treese, this month we're gonna do a fruit only month," and I'm like, my brain is like, I can't function after like 2-3 days.
You have to be careful with that too, especially because I know someone that they went on a fast and they were only doing fruit and they ended up passing away because there were some diabetic issues under. So you just have to. Everybody has to do what's right for their body. You just have to be careful if you're shifting to all fruit. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. What do you think about juicing? Because Lowe's didn't mention that, but like if somebody has to get fruit and they actually juice it, what are your thoughts about that?
I will say God gave us teeth for a reason. I don't think we should only drink juice. I know it's very trendy right now. There are some health benefits, but whatever you juice, my ratio is make sure it's 75% vegetables and 25%. What you don't want to do is make a fruit juice, right? Like you're taking the fiber out of the fruit and keeping the taste, but also the sugars, and you're just drinking a sugary beverage. So you want to make sure you have that balance of mostly, vegetables, kale, spinach, celery, whatever it is. And I also like to add at least a tablespoon of chia seeds to give you the fiber and the protein.
Okay. I do 1 or 2 juices throughout the week in the morning. One of them has like it's got oranges, lime, carrots, ginger, pineapple. In the morning. It's called a cold buster, and believe it or not, since I've been drinking and I've had not 0 colds at all. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. The other time I'll do an apple beets carrot one, and that one has been very very good. But they're Yeah, but usually at
They're
the
very
bottom, yeah, they're sweet. But at the bottom of it is they usually have the residue, right? And I never throw out the cup. I keep filling the cup up with water until it's
smart.
completely empty. So it'll be whatever I drink. It's my executive assistant will come back in and she'll go, "You finished?" I say, "Yeah." And she'll fill it up with water. And she fills it up with water until everything is gone. So it's just like a clear cup. So I'm drinking constantly. Even though I'm drinking it, I'm also drinking a lot of water throughout the day. And
Coconut water is good. I'm just watching the chat.
yeah,
Coconut.
yeah. She said chia seed, not D seed. She said
Oh, chia. Yep.
seed. That's what you said.
Like chia pet. Chia.
Yeah. Michelle said I follow you on Michelle Maynard said
Thank
she
you.
follows you on Instagram.
Yes, that's our oldest daughter.
Hi. Thank you.
She's a principal in the Bronx.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to get into the school.
Now, Michelle, I
Trying to
think
get
you were
these
saying
babies.
DC. Are you saying D seed something, or were you asking was it chia seed? I'm not sure, but I think she was responding to what you said earlier, which is adding chia seed for
Chia seeds.
protein to your drink, right?
Yeah, it's a protein and a fiber.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I
Wow.
tell you, we got a
See,
lot of
yeah.
information today. We're all
Well, yeah.
gonna we're starting our Daniel fast tomorrow, so a lot of the things that you shared, I will be taking into consideration fully. But also, several years ago, when I stopped the chocolate during a Lenten season. So I gave it up during Lent, and I never came back. Right. So what my goal right now is, as I start to think about coming into this season of Daniel fasting and praying, right? Because what's the point of fasting without
Right.
prayer?
Right.
But it's also getting yourself, prepared. Michelle said, hold on. Michelle said I was suggesting to remove the seeds. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm frozen over here. You see me? I'm frozen.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah,
are.
you are frozen. But
This is easy.
frozen vegetables are really good. So
My Instagram is at Land of the Well.
yeah, I
Someone
think I
said-
put that up
Yep.
already, and I will re-put it back out there. So there's a website that's www.landofthewell, and then the Instagram is at Land of the Well on Instagram as well as on Facebook.
Wow. I mean, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I
Yep,
can
yep.
hear you.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you for joining
you.
us. I mean, it's been very informative, and I mean, we might have to be in touch, man. We may need some coaching going on here in
Let's
2025. Yeah. And what
One
you say?
small step at a time.
Yeah, and I was one of the last thing I want to say is that talk a little bit real quick because I know we're over the time here. Talk about activity, how important it is because we're not a body. When our bodies are not made to sit. I mean, one of the things when I go to games, I always, whether it's a timeout, the quarter, I always stand up and move. I mean, if it's a commercial, and I'm looking at TV and the commercial, I always get up. Our watches will tell us to stand up, but most of the time we don't. Right? Most of the time we don't stand up. Oh, there. I'm in the raw right now. And most of the time we don't do enough standing. We do too much
Right.
sitting. And how important it is to have activities, to be active. I mean, and you know what, to be conscious of being active. Because people say, "Well, I walk all day." That's not a de-stressor. Of course, you walk all day at your job,
Right.
right? A de-stressor is that I'm going to take time and take 30 minutes to take a walk.
Right.
Right? Or I'm going to take 30 minutes to get on a bike. I'm going to take 30 minutes and go to the gym. Right? I'm going to take 30 minutes or 15 minutes to stretch. Right? So just before we get off here, talk about how important activity, being active is.
I am not a fan. I made the jokes about the gym earlier, but I something about being in four walls with sweaty people grosses me out. So I am not a fan of the gym, but if you say let's go play kickball, you know, I'll dance around and I'm silly with my kids or my garden. We just got a puppy, so we're walking the dog. Just make the focus moving naturally, whatever that is. Our movement now is this. We have the strongest thumbs in all of creation because this is all we're doing this and we're doing this.
Right.
Get up. I'll go across the street to my neighbor who is in her 80s and we'll walk. I'll help her sweep. That counts, right? But I'm also connecting with somebody. I'll go for a walk with a dog. I'm bumping into neighbors. You didn't go on an extra couple of blocks because now I'm chit-chatting, sweet, mop. You know, my old boss, I never forget, his grandmother lived into her hundreds. She would wash down her walls. You try doing that. Like every muscle in your tongue is going to hurt, because we're just not moving our bodies. Taking the stairs, just find that thing. If you like bike riding, ride a bike. If you like dancing, take a dance class. Just try to find ways to move your body naturally. That's it. And don't put such a time like Craig and I are trying to stretch at night. Like I said, we're the geriatric parents in the neighborhood. So we're not saying let's make sure we stretch for an hour. Let's just get a couple of stretches in before we go to bed. That might just be 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes more than I did yesterday. So that all counts. So yeah, movement is key.
Well, Jenon, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for getting us off to a good start in 2025.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean this is important, man, and to carry it through. Make your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health, right? Make it a priority. I mean, as you move forward all year long, I mean, make a goal, and then we just left 2024. The question is, if we make a goal now, if we have a vision for ourselves, we always talk about God. We always talk about the scripture about vision. All people without a vision will perish. Well, do you have a vision?
Right.
Right. Do you have a plan? Right. Make goals. Right. And then evaluate it each week, each month. Right. And at the end of the year, so that you have something to look back at and say, I started this in January of 2025, and I accomplished this in December of 2025. What's
and the
next?
race isn't given to the swift. It's
right.
not being the fastest one out of the gate. It's just about the endurance. So you do the Daniel fast, the 21 days, 30 days, however long it is, it's enduring, right? And after the fast, if you have a piece of cake or you have a lamb chop, it's okay. Get back in the race. Just take the next small step, whatever it is. Just endure. Just don't give up and don't stop and don't wait until, God willing, 2026. Some people gonna break their resolution tonight. Oh, I'm done. And then, you waiting until after the holidays at the end of the year. No, just do something small tomorrow, today, whatever it is. Just endure. Just keep running the race. That's it.
Awesome. I'm gonna let that be the the final word.
Amen.
Amen. As I close out, thank you again. Thank your husband, because he recommended you. I said, oh yeah, health. Oh, we got to do that, and hopefully we'll be in touch.
Please.
Hopefully we'll be in touch, and have some more conversations about this. As we move forward in 2025 as well. So I want to thank everybody out there, all the comments, man, all the questions. Thank you, Jenon. Her information is down there, right? Don't look at it. Write it down, right? Write it down and do something with it, right? Don't keep looking at it. You know how you look at your Bible? I'm going to read that Bible one day. It's been sitting there for a while. It's been on your phone, too. It's on your phone. You've been saying, I'm going to read this Bible. Right now, open it up and read it. Right? You see her, there's that information
good.
Right there. Big. Right? It's right there. You need help. I mean, all of us need a coach. We all need mentors, coaches, advisors, right? And just like even in the mental health situation, some people are afraid to go to therapists, right? Or be able to talk to them about their problems, right? Hey, sometimes you just need help,
Yeah,
right? You can't get through life alone.
that's right.
Right, that's right. So, thank you guys. I love you. Thank you for your support each and every week. Jenon, hold on for a second as I close out. I say this each and every week, man. If God allow you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing you next week as we talk about some financial things in the beginning of the new year. We got my man, Steven Stack. He's one of my King brothers, the King Movement, National King Movement. He's one of my brothers. He's in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's going to be talking about financial health, right? That's going to be important too. Your physical health and your financial health. So God bless you, and I'll see you next week.
Amen.
Okay.
He said, okay.
Y'all are working.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant terms.